You're listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast, coming to you from the Kitchen Studios, located high atop the historic Raleigh building, located in the heart of downtown Raleigh. The NC F&B Podcast takes you behind the scenes of North Carolina's food and beverage industry. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at NCFBPod. This episode is sponsored in part by Food Scene. That's foodseen.com. Providing professional photography, social media management, video production, and website design. That's Food Scene. And now, the sommeliers to the stars, the barbacks in your backyard. It is Max and Matt.
Hello, and thank you for listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. I'm your co-host, Max Trujillo.
And I'm your co-host, Matthew Weiss. And today in studio, we have your pal, our pal, the former chef of Il Palio, and the chef and owner of soon-to-be Coronado Pizza. Whenever that comes, we'll find out. Chef Teddy Diggs.
Hey, what's up?
Welcome back, man.
Thanks for having me.
We did a little mini episode, not Minnesota.
Oh, don't get Max started on Minnesota.
I don't know why I was so hard on people. Anyone listening in Minnesota, I apologize. From a previous episode during our happy hour, I was talking to Chef Tmeline, who immigrated from France to Minnesota, lived there for 14 years, and I was like, oh, disgusting. For whatever reason, I don't know. I've never been to Minnesota. It's usually a fine place.
Really had a tough time with that.
But it's no triangle. It's no North Carolina, and that's why we do a podcast about North Carolina and its food and beverage. So we were in South Carolina at the Euphoria Festival in Greenville, where we first had Teddy on the mics, because we were all just collaborating, having fun. You were throwing down some food, Teddy, and we said, let's just get you on the mic just to see what's going on. Then, at the time, you were very hush-hush about all the things Coronado. But maybe we can bring a little bit more into light as to what's going on. For those that don't know, Teddy is about to open up Coronado Pizza. Am I saying, is it Coronado Pizza?
Yeah, Coronado is the official DBA, but yes. Coronado Pizza is all the tags and the website and all that, because it's a pizza place.
It's how the cool kids know you.
Yeah.
You didn't tell us what city it was in at the time, because that was kind of still not specific, or even location. Can you at least tell us that now?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be opening. So the opening date now we have a loose target, right? Mm-hmm. We're to me I'm saying June 1st, and that's assuming that we do hit some bumps in the road. So maybe even earlier than that. But I would shoot for June 1st for our opening date, and it's going to be in Carborough.
That's right, Carborough.
Yeah, there's a new development over there called South Green, right off of South Greensboro Street, about a quarter mile from downtown, connected to the Carborough bike path. A great spot, very accessible. And,
now people know it as the Roundabout.
Yeah. The new Roundabout over there. So we'll be one of those buildings that's popping up over there.
That's exciting. And so you literally took this place from scratch. I mean, from everything, from design and both the restaurant, the conceptual idea, to even the physical location and all. You've been involved with everything.
Everything, yeah, absolutely.
That's pretty amazing. We do have a new segment we're doing with Jen Hoverstadt over at the Forest Firm, and that segment will come up pretty soon. But that's the whole idea we always talk with her about. It's like, what do you do when you're first getting started? I would love to know just firsthand right now, after leaving Il Palio and now you're doing this whole thing, did you have any concept or any idea of how to open a restaurant, especially from the ground up like you did?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I haven't never done it on my own. I've worked at many places. I opened up a restaurant in the D.C. area as the opening executive chef. And then in my time in Martha's Vineyard, that place is so seasonal that all the restaurants up there literally closed down. And I was executive chef of a restaurant group that had 3 locations. And so for 5 years,
you're
like close and open a restaurant every year. So that's just kind of the logistics of staffing and inventory and build out and menu development and all that. But as far as architecture and design, concept from start to finish, this was kind of my first go at it. But in reality, I've been doing this in my head since I was in about 3rd grade. So
yeah.
And he just graduated high school this year, so not too long.
Are you on the line at Il Palio and it's just kind of eating at you like, I want to do a Roman-style pizza place. I want to do a Roman-style pizza place.
You know, my career in the industry started when I was, 17. When I was 18, I was in culinary school, and I did an externship from Culinary Institute of America at a great restaurant that's now closed in D.C. with Fabio Trabocchi, who's a great D.C. chef and actually opening his first Italian restaurant this year in Venice, but now has one in Miami, so he's blowing up everywhere. But it was in the Ritz-Carlton in Tyson's Corner, and it was like very extreme, fine dining Italian food. And so starting my career there, it was so intense, and I didn't do anything for years. I managed to get married and make a few babies, but outside of that, like my relationship with them was very my life was revolving around the kitchens and the dedication. So it came to a point in my career and my life where I said, I need to do something for me and for the people I love. And the next step was to do something that was family-oriented in many ways. And that's why I landed on pizza because, one, I love it. Two, my family loves it. And, we have pizza night at the Diggs house all the time. And so through my research and travels through Italy over the years and just my knowledge, I wanted to take everything that I've kind of accumulated in my career and apply it to something that's more casual in a pizza restaurant. So it's a lot more fun, a lot more what I think the food industry should be, could be.
Well, I would like to kind of get into that a little bit because it seems like quality of life has turned into a really important aspect of the food and beverage industry. And it feels like just this like social commentary that we've all, anyone that's been in this business for any time, we all can connect and sometimes glorify the amount of hours we work, whatever we do, and especially the way chefs look at each other like, man, that guy, he just holds a clipboard. Man, he doesn't know how to do that. It's definitely an old school mentality, and maybe it's like part of that toxic masculinity term that's very common now going around where it's just it's like guy on guy crime, right? It's like dudes looking at other dudes and saying, bro, you ain't a man unless you're pulling 70 hours a week, easy. And it's just this machismo that I think it's old. It's done.
I mean, it definitely is. It's time for it to be done. That's the culture I grew up in for sure.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's why when I moved here now over 5 years ago to the Raleigh area, I moved to Chapel Hill, and it was so refreshing just to be in this restaurant scene because we have such great leaders in this community, in our restaurant community, that are so like just naturally not that,
Yeah.
And so it's so wonderful to kind of just fit into the restaurant community here that is not ego driven or, to the point where you're trying to, you're basically killing yourself to make good food at the end of the day.
That is so true, and you only realize it how impactful the industry is here when you travel out. And I was on a trip recently, and it became very apparent that in other markets, and of course I knew this being in New York and being on the buying side of the wine industry and also working on the sales side of the industry, but like in North Carolina, you feel we're all in it together in the industry, whether you sell wine to a consumer or whether you're selling wine to another wine professional. We're all in the same industry and we're all in the business of selling wine or making food. But in other markets, in bigger markets, New York, Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, San Francisco, there is a big qualifying line of like, oh, you're on the dark side. You're in the sales portion. We're not the same, bro. And I didn't realize how much how different North Carolina and specific this area is. And it goes to what you're saying about even the culture within the restaurant about really, it's family oriented.
Yeah. I mean, North Carolina, the restaurant industry is like a special place in North Carolina, like specifically. Exactly. When you travel to other markets or when people travel into your market, it definitely sticks out like a sore thumb.
we're definitely more maternal or like female driven in this state, and I wonder, as in this food and beverage industry, with chefs like Andrea Rusing and Vivian Howard and Ashley Christensen just being major leaders and like
Katie
people
Button.
that Katie Button, thank you. I mean, and the list goes on and on. Chidi Kumar,
Yeah.
They're not the fully fueled testosterone soaked, chef that's like whatever. And they're leading by example and are arguably some of the most respected names in this industry that maybe they're on the forefront of it. We didn't realize it. Now the rest of the country is catching up. Like, no, this is the way it should be.
Absolutely. No, I definitely agree with that. Absolutely.
I mean, I worked for Wolfgang Puck for 5.5 years, and I didn't work directly with him, but he was around. He was around pretty often, and he had so many restaurants at the time that I was starting. But he'd pop in at times, and the culture was just like, work hard, keep your head down, shut up, don't say anything, do whatever you do. And then there was catering events like the Oscars we'd go to, and that was like high pressure, tense, because everyone in the world is looking, everything is happening, everyone get yelled at, everyone was just like, shut up, you idiot, get over here, move. And that doesn't fly in today's world. But, and, from the outside looking in, Wolfgang, he seems like such a nice guy. It's like, oh, get in the kitchen with Wolf. Then you'll see the fangs, But it is curious and it's great. So now let's talk about with your business. So when you're leaving Il Palio to do your own thing, to be like, I want my own piece of the pie, pardon the pun, but the way on your rules, right? So how are you setting your culture up, and how will it possibly be different now that you're at the helm and you're running it, as opposed to the way you've worked in the past? Yeah,
well, I mean, it's just kind of a mindset shift. I mean, it starts with the leader of every establishment, right? So when you're stressed out and run down and tired and exhausted all the time, you have no energy to give to others. So number one is taking care of yourself as a leader. So like personally, I stopped drinking alcohol completely.
Oh, wow.
I started, exercising on a daily basis, and just those two items alone are complete mental and emotional and spiritual shift. And my health has never been better. So,
how long have you not been drinking?
8 months.
Yeah, that's a pretty significant amount of time. I went 11 months.
Yeah.
And then, did you know that about me, Matt?
Never knew that about you.
Yeah, it was right before I
feel
proposed.
like I don't even know you anymore, bro.
It was right before I proposed to Felicia, because I was in a band and things were coming off the rails pretty fast. So it was like, I got to stop drinking. I got to stop smoking pot, stop doing everything. And about a year went by without doing anything. And then I kind of felt like I got my life back, and I proposed to my wife. And then on that day I proposed, we had champagne. And that was the first time I had alcohol. And then since then, now I have booze around me at all times. But I think I have a much better perspective of what that can be and what it should be in your life, and how you treat it,
Yeah,
especially in 10 years, we'll see how I'm feeling about that.
in life, but also in this industry, right? So
yeah.
Alcohol consumption is a slippery slope in the restaurant business, and it becomes easily part of the culture of a restaurant, or expected, or part of the routine, and it can get out of hand pretty quick. So I'd rather just not even have that be a distraction in my life. So taking care of myself, but also just looking at the whole setup from bottom to top, really just looking at what does it take to run a quality restaurant with balance of life in mind. How many seats are we going to have? What are our hours of operation? What does our staffing look like? So you really start with the menu, but then you start with the facilities and organizing it in a way where it's all manageable, right? Because inevitably, shit's going to hit the fan in this industry, right? And it's easy to walk into a project and say, hey, this is going to be great. Everything is exactly how I want it because I'm in control now. But if you look at it realistically, you're constantly going to be dealing with challenges. So you have to walk into this project thinking, okay, when the challenges are at their worst, what does our facilities look like? How are we going to manage it? Am I going to be doing everything on my own if I have to? How do I set up the team? What are our hours of operation? How many people does it take to manage X amount of guests, X amount of seats, the flow of traffic? Where's the host stand at? How's your POS system set up so you're speeding through service, so you're decreasing your labor, and on and on. So,
did you say POS systems?
Yeah.
Pause for a quick moment for this word. If you listen to this show, you probably agree with us that North Carolina is a pretty amazing place.
We have an emerging beer scene, countless chef-driven restaurants, craft cocktail bars that will even put Manhattan on their heels. That's right, Matt. I told you that. We're seeing the growth of all these really exciting restaurants, so let me tell you, every successful restaurant has one thing in common: a point-of-sale system that works for them. Cake is the point-of-sale system that lets bar and restaurant owners focus on their guest experience. Stop worrying about tracking every sale. Cake does that for you. You can automatically save information and review it later from anywhere. That means you can actually take days off and, see your family. Wouldn't that be cool? To get started with Cake, check out trycake.com/NCFB. For our listeners, you can get $750 off the activation fee. That's a 75% discount. And with that discount, you get user-friendly point-of-sale solutions that include cloud reporting and world-class 24/7 support. So, restaurant owners, go to trycake.com/NCFB and take a look. Cake makes it easy. One would say it's a piece of cake. I said that.
And we're back.
No, I love this conversation because a lot of people, and we've talked about it in terms of quality of life in the restaurant industry, and that's what we're talking about. But a lot of people talk the talk, but don't necessarily walk the walk. But the way you're thinking about and creating these systems, I think will make a significant difference. So to give you a tangible example, are you going to have a chef de cuisine?
I'm going to have a head chef, right?
You're going to have a head chef.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to run the restaurant, but I'm going to be equally involved in the dining room as I am in the kitchen, as I am at my house, right? So it's all about balance of life.
Nice.
And I'm going to employ people who are going to be responsible for certain things and make sure we manage it appropriately. And that's part of the scale of the restaurant. We're only going to be 50 seats.
Okay.
I had a lot of people were trying to push me to go more seats. I had a lot of spaces, and that's why it took so long to find a location. Ultimately, it was because I didn't want to settle for something and have to add 30 seats when I knew that it was, for my first restaurant, it was outside of what I wanted to do because it was outside of it being manageable, whether it made sense from a cost perspective or not. It didn't make sense from a managing my first restaurant, owning my first restaurant perspective. Another example is menu, right? So as a chef and as a lover of delicious foods and with the ability to create delicious foods, I obviously want to give guests tons of delicious options, and you really just have to know what your limits are. And so, for an example of kitchen design at Coronado, we have a pizza oven and induction burners and a couple of electric fryers. So there's no stove top, there's no oven outside of that.
Grill?
So no grill, right? Wow. So everything we're doing is limited to these pieces of equipment because I know the concept that I'm doing can be supported off of these pieces of equipment. And I also know that if I had a smoker and a grill and an oven and a combi oven and a range top that can burn without having it be induction, then
you'd be there all day.
Yeah, I'd be there and I'd be creating, and the menu would fluctuate up and down. And I'm looking for consistency and developing that consistency throughout the board. That's going to help give not only me, but every employee that works at Coronado some quality of life and a level of expectation every day when they come into work, which is ultimately the most important thing for employees.
You said pizza oven. What kind of pizza oven?
So it's real. Yeah,
this is a big one. It's a big question here.
Come on. This is a loaded
How are you
question.
making these pies?
Right.
This is imported from Rome, no?
No, it's not from Rome.
Okay.
But it's manufactured in Italy. So
Rome, Texas.
So
Just kidding.
I think that's Pierre, Texas. Or Paris, Texas.
When I just got back from a trip to Rome, and for the 2 weeks leading up, I was checking the weather to see what it was like, and we're packing, and I'm packing with my wife, and she's like packing. I'm like, you got to bring coats and boots, and what the hell are you doing? And she's like, it's not. It's a lot colder here, and I'm like, it's not. It's snowing there right now. And she's like, no, it's not. It's like 55 and sunny. And she's like, where are you looking? And Rome, New York. I'm like,
Rome, New York.
You were showing up and wearing your Parker.
Yeah.
It's like 55 degrees.
I thought you were looking at Celsius the whole time.
Idiot.
You're like, it's so cold.
Idiot move, But so the oven question is extremely loaded, and I'm happy to talk through it ad nauseum because obviously I'm very passionate about the approach here. But it's going to surprise people. So it's a Moretti Forni oven is the company, and it's a terrific oven, and it's a deck-style oven, and it is an electric oven. So yeah,
Touch my pearls.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of people have a lot of feeling about pizza ovens, and to me, again, what am I looking for? I'm looking to make a consistent product, the best product I can on a regular basis, no matter who's working the oven, whether it's me, whether it's my head chef, whether it's my second in command there in the kitchen. And I like training and developing other team members. I'm also looking for, so when people come into Coronado, they're going to know what they're getting. And this oven is a very nice oven. It's not less expensive than all these other ovens that people like bragging about. So if it's a thing about cost, I'll match you. But,
Right.
Yeah. But,
That said, if money wasn't the issue, you specifically found the oven you wanted.
This is it.
Happens to be electric.
So 2 years ago, I was traveling Naples. I was doing a pizza tour of Naples and Amalfi Coast, and I go up to Grani with Franco Pepe, who's a world-renowned, I don't know if you know him, but world-renowned pizza maker. Pepe and Grani is his place. The best pizza in the world, without a doubt. And I was having a conversation with him, and I was asking him about his ovens, what ovens he uses, what wood he uses, and we were having a real life conversation. And he said, "You know what? If it was up to me, I wouldn't be using these wood ovens anymore." Neapolitan pizza has strict rules. Yeah, part of it is the oven you use and the temperature of the oven, and you get that with the wood. But if we think about it, and as cuisines evolve over time, no longer are we in the 1800s where we have to use wood to burn fuel for heat to get up to that degree. Sure. Electric ovens are, this oven that I'm using is, it replicates the same heat that a wood burning oven would. So they go through the time to put in the right materials so it has that same radiant heat from a wood burning oven. So you can get the same results with much more consistency. I don't have to worry about whether my wood's wet. I don't have to worry about who's managing the fire. I don't need as extra labor. I don't need someone managing the fire and managing the pizzas. I'm just managing the oven.
That was a Wolfgang Puck thing back in the day. He bragged about the wood fire burning ovens and like the California cuisine pizza. That was his old, kind of start. But like we had a guy on staff that all he did was manage the goddamn pizza oven.
Yeah.
Not cooking it, just making sure that the pizzas were at right temp and that we got the right wood in the back and chopping wood. It's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. And for what? The same result you're going to get from my electric Moretti Forni oven.
Yeah. So you still get the crispiness and all those things?
Man. It's the same thing.
You don't get the smokiness, though,
Well,
right?
that's my thing. Okay, so here's I hate when people argue that.
Okay.
You don't get smokiness from a wood-burning oven because it burns too hot if you're making the pizza correctly, right? If you're making the pizza correctly, you're burning it over 800 degrees. Smoke isn't evident above 340 degrees, so you're not getting any smokiness. You don't get smokiness from a wood burning oven.
Look at this. There you go. We're learning things.
Well, no, you know what? That goes back to the whole thing about toxic masculinity and the fact that because probably people are like puff their chest out. Yeah, I use the hardcore wood burning ovens, and then tangibly, it goes back to, okay, well, I don't have to pay somebody to manage the fire and the temperature, so I can pay my other support staff more money. Better quality of life.
There you go.
Maybe the pizza's even better value.
And,
who knows?
Yeah, and I'm still, well, for argument's sake, I'm delivering at least equal value and quality.
Yeah, but I can promise you a more consistent product.
And more consistent.
No doubt, Because that's always the biggest rub, too, is when you go to a great restaurant and that chef who does need a day off every now and then if the place is open 7 days a week, you go in when the sous chef's working and the quality level just drops 30%.
Yeah.
You don't need that in your life.
Right.
And you don't want your business to suffer if you're not there. And this is a good way to kind of eliminate some of these options, in a way. No offense to the guy that you're going to hire to be your head chef.
No, exactly. It's being able to cross-train your entire staff. You don't need I don't need a specialist on my team, right? I need people who are dedicated with the right mindset, who are approaching food with positive vibes and with attention to detail.
Yeah,
I don't need them to have attention to detail to the firewood.
Right.
Well, this all sounds like very much well thought out and purposeful, and I'm wondering if this was intentional thought of expanding. But before we get into that, speaking of being intentional in how to do your business, we should talk to Jen Hoverstad in terms of the legal ramifications of starting a business.
So we're going to take a quick little break from the show to talk with our favorite attorney over at Forrest Firm, Jen Hoverstadt. Jen, hello.
Hey guys, always glad to be here with you.
We were talking about business, as we always do, talking about entrepreneurship and talking about startups. So let's talk about the hiring process. We've got a restaurant now. We signed a lease after going through it so diligently with our attorney. And now we need to hire people for the team. So what are some of the do's and definitely the don'ts of the hiring process that people get caught up in so often?
A lot of us, when we start a business, we have the best intentions with going through those first round of interviews. We're so excited to bring people in and to have them partner with us to grow our business that we get a little bit too informal. So the first thing we're going to do in helping you to hire people is we're going to set up your hiring process, your onboarding process, which means that we're going to go ahead and create that employment agreement. So whether you have W-2 employees or 1099 employees, we're going to make sure that you're set up the correct way. And then what we're going to do is we're going to give you the do's and don'ts of interviewing. There are a lot of questions that in a conversation informally we would ask people that you can't ask people in a hiring interview. So for example, guys, I may ask you like, hey, Matt, where are you from? You cannot ask that in an interview because if they're not from the U.S., it may be discrimination that you choose not to hire them because they are not from the U.S. You can't do that here.
I didn't know that.
Right? You also can't ask, even if a woman is visibly pregnant, you can't ask her if she's pregnant. That could also be seen as discrimination if for some reason you choose not to hire her. So lots of little nuanced things that, again, like you might mean absolutely nothing by asking these questions, but you want to be really careful about the questions you ask during the formal interview process to make sure that you are not inadvertently discriminating against people if you choose not to hire them.
That's good to know, especially if you're wrong about her not being pregnant. She actually is not.
Yeah.
That would be really bad.
It's just a good rule of thumb not to ask people about pregnancy.
I would assume you would help us write our employee handbook as well?
Absolutely. We have so many templates, especially for food and beverage clients, where we will pull the best of the best to make sure that it reads exactly how you want it to read for your employees. And this is going to be something where not only will we customize it to fit the personality of your business, but we will also make sure that you are covered with both state and federal regulations, because both North Carolina and the U.S. require that you inform employees about specific rules and guidelines and policies that you wouldn't know about otherwise.
To learn more about the Forrest Firm and what they can do for you, click the link in our show notes or visit forrestfirm.com/NCFB to request a free consultation for your business. You can also reach them at 877-669-1455. Forrest Firm, business attorneys across North Carolina.
And so I'll put that question to you directly, Teddy. Is this purposeful in thinking like, oh, this is a repeatable, sustainable business, not just one-off?
I mean, again, you're getting me in my euphoria days here where I don't want to say too much.
Sure.
But,
That's fair.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if you ever decide to open a pizza restaurant, you'll drive around and you'll notice how many pizza restaurants there are.
Oh, yeah.
There's one everywhere, and there's multiple units of local chains and regional places everywhere as well. So in the back of my mind, when one becomes successful and people want more in a different location, am I going to be reluctant to open another one? Absolutely not.
Sure. No, that's cool, and I love when people are smart about that.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Why not set up the system so that I can build upon this and have multiple units?
Coronado one's in Carborough, so that's a ways away from Raleigh, Cary, Apex, even places in Durham,
Holly Springs,
Chapel Hill. I mean, and then where else? Right.
Right. Yeah. Why stop the business if you don't have to?
Yeah. So now that we know about the business, let's talk about your specific pizza recipes. I know you can't give them all away, but you intentionally, through your travels, through family nights at the Diggs household, decided that this would be a Roman-style pizza. And just for, I guess, very basic level, can you discuss the differences between Roman-style pizza versus Neapolitan pizza?
Yeah, again, another loaded question, but
we wouldn't have a podcast if the questions were loaded.
Good
Matt
question.
and I are loaded.
You guys are heavy hitters. Yeah, absolutely. Neapolitan pizza, we'll start there, is just by ingredients. It's flour, it's yeast, it's salt, and water. Those are the ingredients that go into Neapolitan pizza, and it has to be, it's now regulated where it has to be produced a certain way to get an exact result. And like we talked about earlier, it has to be cooked at a certain degree, temperature in the oven, a certain oven has to be used, and so forth. And so you're getting a pretty exact product. The outcome tends to be, it reminds me of almost like it's more spongy as far as the crust goes. It gets great leoparding. It gets a nice crust on the exterior.
Leoparding, I love that.
But
That's
it's
a
little
good
bit
pizza term you never thought of.
Yeah, but it's a little bit softer. I mean, it's what I think Americans would think more to what a classic pizza would be.
Okay.
And we're just talking Neapolitan to Roman right now. And I'm seeing things. There's now Japanese pizza.
Really good Japanese pizza too.
There's Detroit pizza. There's pizza. Everyone has their own pizza now. But then when you travel over to Rome, pizza romana really could be two things. There's two types of pizza in Rome, and now an off version, which is a third one, which is what we're doing at Coronado. So bear with me here.
Sure.
There's pizza taglio, which taglio means cut.
Okay.
So it's these long, almost focaccia-like pizzas, or they're cooked in about meter length, and they are about an inch thick, and they can have various toppings on them. And a lot of times you see them like you would go to a forno or a pizzeria, and they would be in like a deli case, and they would have long sheets of these pizza, and you would order them by the kilogram or the half kilogram or whatever, and they'd cut them with scissors, and then they'd flash them back in the pizza oven and reheat them, and it'd be a quick bite to go. So that's pizza taglio. Pizza romano or pizza tonda is a pizza that's very thin, almost cracker-thin crust, and it's a short fermentation on the dough. Only takes about 6 hours to produce, and it's really amazing. It's this blob of dough that then they stretch out about 4 feet long, and it's traditionally it's pizza bianco, white pizza, or pizza rossa, red pizza. The bianco would just be brushed with olive oil and salt and baked, this massive sheet. And again, you're ordering it they're cutting it with scissors. And the pizza rossa would just have tomato sauce rubbed on it and it'd be baked in. Delicious. Very popular places in Rome serve this, and it's a nice snack. I had like 10 pieces for breakfast every day when I was in Rome. But then the offshoot of this, what now is happening over the past decade, places in Rome took that style, that thin cracker crust style of pizza romana, and they made it into a round shape.
Okay.
Right? And so there's great places that kind of started this game in Rome, and they're making like a round pizza. And they're adding more what you would think of as traditional toppings. So it's not just the Bianca and the Rossa. They're adding, what you would get on any pizza anywhere you would want, right? So then that started to become very popular. The tonda, which means, they're rolling it thin. They roll it really thin with a mattarello or a rolling pin. And then now what you're getting in Rome, which is what we're going to be doing at Coronado, is you're taking kind of a blend of that short dough that's 6 to 8 hours, and you're adding longer fermentation to it. You're really developing that dough a little bit further. So at Coronado, we're starting with a mother that is like a neutral starter, and we're adding that to a dough. So it's 100% naturally leavened, and then that gets a 24-hour fermentation on that dough. And what you get is still that cracker-thin crust, but you get a lot more fermentation bubbles, a lot more flavor in the dough, and it really it matches the leoparding and undercrust that you would get from a Neapolitan dough. It's really outstanding. So that's the style we're going to be doing at Coronado, and you basically put whatever flavors on top you're into.
The fact that it's a cracker-like crust, though, it doesn't crumble like a cracker, right?
No, it has a crunch to it, especially the exterior, but it still has some pull to it and some chew to it. it's foldable. But
for you New Yorkers,
right?
Yeah,
but it's not to the point where it's like pliable. It'll fold and crack, and it's
But the
really
cheese will keep
really fun to eat.
that sounds like it.
Well, I guess so, because you decided to make an entire restaurant doing that,
Yeah.
which is great. That's
So
cool.
and so that's my kid's favorite. So I've been doing pizza night at the Diggs house for many years now, and I've been to Italy, and I've been to Italy specifically 3 times now just for pizza research. And every time I come back, I'm messing around with a new recipe. I settled on this recipe about 1.5 years ago, ultimately because it's all of our favorites at our house.
Nice. So and I read something about adding olive oil to the crust.
Yeah. So again, the dough is not. It doesn't have a legal binding definition of what has to go in it like Neopolitan does. So my crust has it has honey in it, olive oil, which you wouldn't expect. It has the natural starter, high gluten flour, water, and that's it. Salt, sea salt. And
Okay,
that's it.
so not a gluten-free restaurant. Sorry,
No,
everybody.
no. I gotta work on something though. So my wife just became gluten-free.
Okay.
Grain-free, gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free, sugar-free. So I got to work on something
She's on
special.
the Tom
for
Brady
Wow.
diet.
Yeah, TB12.
Wow, but so that means that guess what? There's going to be gluten-free options
Yeah.
at Coronado.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's good because that's bringing people into the next level. You'll probably there's like vegan pizza. I know like what Pompieri in Durham does a really good vegan pizza, and that's something you wouldn't consider at first. And you're like, oh yeah, well I guess I could make the dough without. Well, I guess dough is vegan, right? If
Dough can be vegan,
Pretty easily.
as the honey might be an issue for us. But that's another lifestyle change I made. I'm vegetarian for 1.5 years now.
Oh, wow.
And so a lot of that is going into my cooking approach as well.
but you'll be able to get some sausage at
You'll be able to
Coronado.
get meat there, but kind of where I think our whole industry needs to go. Maybe another off topic and another topic for another time. But our whole industry, I think we need to kind of shift how much protein we're offering at our restaurants and animal protein instead of doing like a lot of times you walk in, you have like 3 vegetarian options. You might walk in and have like 3 or 4 non-vegetarian options,
Yeah.
and they'd be delicious, but you won't even miss the protein. And one of the pizzas I'm doing for a pop-up that's coming up is it's roasted potato and garlic is the base. It has braised escarole. It has olives, and it has roasted mushroom on it and Taglio cheese. And so it's like, where am I missing the animal meat on that?
Yeah,
absolutely
you
not.
hit all the flavor profiles, and you did it without meat.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, or the toppings. I mean, is there going to be a create your own, or is there going to be set toppings, changing toppings? It sounds like there's the world is your oyster. Speaking of a potential topping, I don't know. I did see in France an escargot pizza, which was pretty cool. So yeah, it's all fun and games when it comes to toppings. Or?
I mean, I'll have my menu will be kind of designed out with different pizza offerings.
Okay.
If you want to customize it, of course you can ask. But
we'll see.
there'll be something on there for everything, and you say, why Roman pizza? It's not only about the crust; it's about the whole vibe of Rome as well. And so that's a whole nother topic there. And
the cacio e pepe on the pizza.
the cacio e pepe on the pizza. But really, am I allowed to curse on that?
Oh, fuck yeah.
So okay, so you can do whatever the fuck you want because the approach. I've been Italian cooking my entire cooking career. And the more I was into it, the more regional I got. The more I got down to the town things were made, which pasta comes from where, and how that's paired with what cheese. And it became very specific and very intentional on every move that I was doing, where I still want to be in the Italian realm, but I didn't want all these rules and regulations and have to wonder where ingredients are coming from all the time and how things are specifically done, because that's how nonnas in Italy have done it for generations. It was great to be able to celebrate that and understand it, and it really helped create a foundation for my Italian culinary knowledge. But when I wanted to do my own restaurant, I wanted to do something. Basically, I knew I started off with the image of basically I just wanted anything I did had that emoji of just the middle finger emoji. So anything I wanted to do, I could basically do. It was like all up to me. So Roman Roman cooking is that. Modern Roman cooking is that. It's a major city. You think, what would New York cooking be like? It's not a regional. It's a melting pot of cultures and ideas and techniques. And so we're starting with that Roman dough that is now, it's essentially a flatbread that then gets changed over generations and generations into what we're going to be serving now at Coronado. And really the toppings are going to be they're Italian inspired, but all over Italy. And we'll also be doing things like pepperoni on pizza, which you wouldn't find in Italy.
Right.
Because I know people want it. And I know my kids want it.
Sure.
And
if you open
it's going to be delicious.
Sorry, we don't do pepperoni.
Right.
Probably get a lot of people upset.
Yeah.
But.
So it's going to be. So I mean, it's really a way of saying a Roman restaurant being really whatever you want it to be.
Nice. Yeah. And like what about the vibe in itself? Meaning, is it going to be your neighborhood place? Is this going to be more of like a little more upscale? Like could you go on a date to?
No dates. They do not allow dates in there.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, put it this way. Oakwood Pizza Box, Anthony, he'll be on the episodes coming up soon. That's like a total neighborhood place, very kind of chill, every day, like just walk in type of place. Whereas I would say Gabe Barker's Mercado is a little bit more on the upscale side, where you could take a first date to Mercado and she's not going to think like, you brought me to a pizza joint? No, it's a nice restaurant.
Yeah.
So where does Coronado fit?
I think probably somewhere in the middle. I think probably, all of our intentions in our food and our preparation and our hospitality are all going to be driven on, my understanding of what the industry is, what I've been doing for my entire career, which is very high quality. But like I said, no ego and no pretension. Like we're going to be serving Prosecco out of plastic cups type of deal. And
nice.
So it's going to be really great product, but very approachable. It's about kind of ease and fun and just good vibes. So
highbrow, lowbrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, of course, the last name Diggs inspires Italian cuisine and all that. I have to imagine that. But where did you tell me about your mother?
Yeah.
No, but like, where did you come from with all this? What did your mom and dad do, like, for business in life? And I'd love to know how that kind of manifested itself.
Yeah.
To you here.
Well, yeah, absolutely. No cooking history in my background. My mom, she knows that I've told her I've celebrated it enough. Where she wasn't a good cook growing up at all, to the point where like. I remember my mind being blown when I was in about fourth grade the first time I ate fresh pineapple because I thought I hated pineapple because I never had pineapple that didn't come from a can before,
right.
and stuff like that throughout my entire childhood I can look back on.
You actually thought pineapple was called dole.
Right. My dad was a naval pilot and a naval officer.
I knew military was in your background.
And so we grew up moving almost every 2 years, right? Yeah. And so, food always was a great connection for me, whether I was watching it on TV or reading it in books. Ever since I was in third grade, I was watching Emeril Lagasse on the Food Network and reading his cookbooks and, getting into Food Network pretty heavy and playing restaurant at home and making up menus. And I even used a tea kettle. When friends came over, I used like a tea kettle. I remember as like a camera to film me while we were doing a cooking segment. And this is
awesome.
This is like the summer before fourth grade. And like looking back, my friends must have thought like I was a fucking idiot, But when that exposure to food was always was a connection to me. Everywhere we moved, I was looking at this. So we lived in Oklahoma for a few years, and some of my fondest memories are going to a big steakhouse out on a ranch where you got like a big piece of steer, T-bone steak, or going to an Indian reservation and having Navajo fry bread and things like that.
Oh, wow.
When we lived in Newport, Rhode Island for 1 year, my goal was to taste as many New England clam chowders as I could and try to pick the best and understand. And that was when I was in seventh grade, right? So it was always like traveling around the country was always, I loved understanding cultures
Food's been
and
important
food.
to you,
Yeah,
though,
absolutely. It was always a connection for me.
That's awesome. Well, we've got about 5 minutes before we get out of here, and you're doing a lot in anticipation of coming out to opening the doors, like pop-ups. You've been doing some pop-ups. You've been helping out. Tell us about what you're doing. I know now that this episode – we're recording today on Monday. This episode's going to come out in about 10 days or so. But I think tonight you're going to the Fox Liquor Bar and popping up there. Tell us about what's going on with that. Or now you've done it. How was it? How did it go?
Yeah, it was great, man. I loved it.
but Fox, for people that don't know, of course, it's owned by AC Restaurants, Ashley Christensen's restaurants, and it's a liquor bar, but it's like a dope-ass high-end liquor bar, but not known for its culinary delights because it's more of a booze bar.
It is.
So what are you doing and what are you bringing to the table there?
Well, I will say they came out with a new menu, bar menu that's really awesome too.
Oh, that's
so
right.
if you go not on Coronado pop-up night, you can get some delicious grub too.
Yeah, that happened like maybe 3-4 months ago where they opened up the menu.
That's right. Because they share the kitchens up there with Chuck's and Beasley's. So.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome organization. But I've been doing pop-ups ever since I kind of came up with this concept, just to get the name out and also to have fun and keep cooking and get exposure. And really, it's not, a lot of people think I'm doing it to generate money, but every time I do a pop-up with anyone, I'm donating all the proceeds. So this was a natural combination. Ashley and her team were doing a cocktail fundraiser, and I said, hey, do you want a food component? I'm ready to kind of unveil Coronado's first look at a menu.
Oh, cool.
If you're into it, absolutely. So I'm going over there, and I'm going to be doing, I don't know, like 7 or 8 different things. You know, tonight's menu, or whenever this aired, the last week's menu had, grape and rosemary focaccia bread. You know, we're going to be doing French fries at Coronado because if you're going to go ahead and eat pizza, why not just start with French fries too? It just makes complete sense to me. Yeah. So we're doing cacio e pepe French fries.
Ooh, wow.
We're doing soupli, which are those classic rice croquettes that are stuffed with mozzarella from Rome. I'm doing fava bean falafel with a tahini yogurt. I'm doing 3 different types of pizza, and I'm also doing a radicchio salad with some great radicchios from Veriluce Farm with an anchovy dressing and burnt breadcrumbs and smoked pecorino. And then I'll be having my tiramisu, the Coronado tiramisu, for offering for dessert as well. So that's the pop-up at Fox. We have another pop-up coming in March 7th, which is a Thursday. That's going to be at Topo in Chapel Hill.
Oh, yeah.
And we're partnering with Topo and Table. All the proceeds are going to go to Table, which is a great organization in Chapel Hill, Carborough. Basically, you can buy those tickets on Eventbrite, and $25 for those tickets, and you get a pizza margarita cooked by yours truly, and a Topo beverage, and that's going to be happening Thursday, March 7th. So that's another pop-up happening. So.
Nice work. By the way, if anyone, this is a free plug for Topo, get that reserve whiskey. It's delicious.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I had it just over the weekend. It is so good. It's legit aged whiskey coming out of North Carolina.
Good for the Topo people. They're always a fan of the show, and we're a fan of theirs. So
they do good stuff.
Question for you about the pop-ups. Where do you cook your pizza on for those?
Oh, man, that's a good... You guys have got all the questions, don't you? So you know how nerve-wracking it is cooking pizza at pop-ups because you don't know...
I can imagine.
Oh, man, especially because you're saying this is my menu, so people are coming in and they're judging you off of you.
Yeah, and they don't have the Moretti...
they don't know. No. So I've done pop-ups at like La Farm. I've done pop-ups, all over the place now, and it's really every time it's just like really difficult. You're always working out of a different oven. So Breville just came out with a new pizza oven, Breville Pizziolo, and they're great units. And I got them dialed in. They cook very much like a pizza oven would. You can cook a pizza in them about 3 minutes.
Okay.
So I have 70 doughs lined up for tonight, and I got 2 Breville pizza ovens. So we're going to be like constant grind in the Fox.
But it'll be in the vein. It'll feel similar as to what you'll have.
It should feel very similar.
So this is an answer to a long-standing question that I've had. I've wanted to do pizza off. I don't know if that's the best name for it, but essentially a conglomerate of all the best pizza places in the Triangle, and everyone comes and cooks their own style of pizza, which is obviously impossible because it wouldn't be your oven, but maybe just put their best foot forward. And I think the Pizza Breviola?
Yeah, Breville. It's the Breville's the company.
Yeah,
Pizziolo. Yeah.
And that also, as I'm getting played off here,
that's all right,
that leads into my next question. For those home pizza makers, my kid eats pizza and I want to make him some pizza at home. What's some tips for some of the easiest stuff how you execute pizza at home if I can't get out to Coronado?
Pizza at home is always fun. You can use an oven, just a regular home oven. You can use, they got baking steels, they got baking stones, even sheet trays. Just make sure you're preheating whatever you're using in the oven. But now there's like so many great units. Like this Pizzaiolo Breville is something designed for home.
You could actually get in your home.
It's a little expensive, but it's designed for home, and just plug it in and you're ready to go. It gets up to 900 degrees. And
Nice.
I do them at home on like the Big Green Egg on the grill and stuff like that. But there's a lot of options at home. If you can, if the regular oven won't work, you can, start trying
Figure
out some
something
new
else out.
things. Yeah.
Nice.
Go catch Teddy at his pop-ups. March 7th is going to come out. You haven't missed that yet. That's on a Thursday, coming
Correct.
up soon. You've already done Fox, which is awesome. But keep a lookout for Coronado Pizza, Matt.
Yeah, follow them on Instagram, and then when they open in June, maybe even before, go to Coronado Pizza. You will eat and drink extremely merrily.
Thanks for listening to the NC F&B podcast. And if you've stuck with us this long, review us on iTunes, and remember, 5 stars are encouraged.